Hi guys, nice to meet you all. I'm a little bit nervous. It's the first time I'm properly presented. So if you see my knees slowly start to go. But nice to meet you all. I'm G from Data Leader, co-founder of Data Leader. We also have a PPC agency as well called Jude Lux. Some of you, I think, have seen me before. I think at the Birmingham event that Paul was previously talking about, the e-commerce event. I also would like to apologise if you hear my phone vibrating. It's my daughter's birthday tomorrow. She's turning 3. She's going on 30, the way she acts. And my wife is constantly saying, do you want this cake? Do you want this cake? We've got to finish this. And then we've just sold our house as well, so I've got solicitors ringing me every 5 minutes. And I'm emailing them back saying, you didn't say that price a minute ago, mate. So I do apologise. But yes, from Data Leader. So a bit of background. Data Leader was born from the back of a frustration that we was having from Jude Lux, and trying to grow and scale accounts profitably, net profitably as much as we possibly could. We saw a big shift in the industry where essentially ROAS was a metric that was kind of just invented because it's a yardstick that fits everyone. And we understand why people kind of gravitate towards it, and it does make sense to a certain extent. But we're here to kind of discuss POAS, profit on ad spend. So yes, I'll go into a little bit more. So we're going to go over some on like server-side tracking versus like client-side tracking. I won't go too deep into it because that is not my forte, I'll be honest with you, but I do know a little bit about it to kind of get by. And also product feed optimization. I was briefly discussing this over a sandwich with a couple of you as well, and why it's so important, especially for e-commerce businesses, to optimize your feed as best as possible. And again, going back to that profit-based bidding and using obviously your margins and your COGS, etc. Also testing and waste prevention in your overall marketing. Again, you'll probably hear me say Google Ads quite a lot because predominantly we are, like I mentioned, a PPC agency, but again, it is applicable for all platforms as well. And again, we'll go over a couple of case studies and obviously answer any questions towards the end. So, server-side tracking. Server-side tracking, we believe, is currently the best form of tracking that you can do for your paid ads. One of the main reasons for it, I'm sure that everyone saw it. You remember when Apple kind of said that we, having built in the privacy, and that kind of threw like a lot of Meta agencies and obviously clients who obviously spend on Meta, a bit of a frantic shock. But server side essentially is, and it doesn't really rely on like cookies, etc., and so on and so forth. It's basically a server GTM. It's basically one server talking to another server. It's probably the easiest way I can put it. And you get more control of what you send back and what you don't send back, and what you want to do with that data. Whereas with client side at the moment, and basically, so for anyone who doesn't quite understand client side, what I'm referring to is a standard GTM, Google Tag Manager tracking, what everyone's typically kind of used to. Server side, you can use Google Tag Manager as well. We personally do, but there's other platforms out there or companies out there that don't. They plug in via APIs, but that's up to you. But with the server-side GTM or server Google Tag Manager, it basically, like I said, it gives you that little bit more control, and you essentially get to see the truer reflection of your results, who's actually been on your site, what they've done, what they've bought, how many, and what the true conversion value may be. So then, what we notice as an agency is that we have loads of products. Whether you have 1,000 products, 10,000, doesn't really matter what the number may be. We found that nearly up to 40% of your product feed actually yield losses or like no conversion value at all. They rack up spend and they actually don't do anything at all. So a lot of drivers, one of the main drivers for this is, poor product feed, pricing issue. It could be a pricing issue, measurement gaps as well, in terms of going back to the tracking, etc., and so on and so forth. So one of the things that we recommend doing, which I'll get to in just a moment, is basically stopping that from happening. Stopping products which are no longer net profitable. And again, I don't want to teach anyone to suck eggs here, but I was talking to a gentleman earlier. You'll hear me bang on about net and gross quite a lot. And there is a big difference, which I'm sure you obviously all know. Just because a product is gross profitable doesn't mean it's net profitable. And I just want everyone to understand that. The reason is because there are other providers out there, and they talk about POAS, profit, POAS and so on and so forth, profit, profit, profit. If you read their small print, they're actually talking about gross profit. We have to focus on net profit, what actually drives money in the bank. So it doesn't, to a certain extent, I don't really care if it's gross profitable. If it's not net profitable, something needs to be done about it. And the best way to look at that is either over a 30-day rolling period or a 90. You can do longer if you want to, but obviously at that point you need to take into consideration seasonality, etc. So this is based on a 30-day loss period. So a particular client that we were working with had 17.5% of their actual feed was yielding 8,900, just shy of 8,900 pounds worth of losses. What is a loss? A loss could be, so for example, when we say losses, what we're talking about is the true cost of advertising that product, not just your spend. So if you have a particular product that you're selling, it has one conversion, for argument's sake, and you got a ROAS of whatever it may be. Your true cost of advertising isn't just your COGS and so on. It's your COGS plus your ad spend. That is your true cost. So for argument's sake, and this is all excluding VATs just so it's easier, you have a particular product and you sell it at £10. Your COGS which should include your obviously your cost of good for itself, labor cost, energy cost, things like that, proportionally as well. Let's just say, for argument's sake, that was £2. That means straight off the bat you have an £8 gross profit. So you have to have a CPA less than £8 in order for you to make a profit, or at least break even. Let's just assume you have £1 cost per click and you've had 9 clicks. Okay, and that means now your true cost is £11, 9 plus 2. And I don't mean to insult anyone here. I just want so everyone understands from my thought process, that's all. So your true cost is 11. Straight off the bat, you're losing £1 because your true cost exceeds the margin for first and foremost. And that's what exceeds, in this case, the actual price of the product. And that's how we've accumulated here 8,900, well, just shy of £8,900 worth of losses. We take all of that into consideration. So in these cases, in that kind of example I just gave then, in theory, giving the product away for free will actually be cheaper for you. So these are the kind of things that we were facing as an agency to go, oh my God, how do we stop that from happening? And how do we help scale this business from Google Ads? And I'll touch upon this in just a moment, but well, a little bit later on, but we use stop loss. As far as we're aware, we're the only company on the planet to do this. We better be, because I've just made a big claim there. So I'll get on it in just a moment, but essentially for that same particular client, when we first took over, 8,900, we're just shy of £8,900 worth of losses, as you can see there. In the next 30 days, reduced down to a 311, like that, using stop loss. And basically what it essentially does is stop loss will automatically pause a product which is no longer net profitable. So like I said, in that instance, £9 cost per click, etc., or £9 in clicks, etc., that product is no longer profitable, pause. If it's not, or if it's about to go basically above that £8 threshold, it'll pause it. And the reason for that is because, one, what's the point for a starter? And two, essentially, if you continue to show that product, which Google will be happy to crack on with that, because essentially, with the greatest respect to Google, I know I'll make my living from them. You don't want to be funding their Christmas party. Is essentially what we kind of say. So we need to stop that from happening, and we need to identify where this issue is. Because if you do this, and you might say, well, it's seasonality, or people don't buy Crocs at this time of year, and all this, whatever it may be. The issue is, if you don't identify those problems straight away, then you can't scale the account, because essentially you just kind of keep hemorrhaging money on all these products. And ultimately, the bigger the feed, generally speaking, bigger the wastage, because you have more products. This is a very poor screenshot, but this is some of the stuff that we do in Data Leader. Unfortunately, I can't show because we don't have a proper demo account at the moment, so I do apologize. So I took a few screenshots and I had to change a few things, obviously, to hide the identity. But one of the things that we can see here in the top on the top right, obviously you can see your campaigns, how many clicks you've had, our average CPC, standard stuff, how many conversions, and so on and so forth. So another thing to keep in mind in Google Ads, especially Google Ads, is you have conversions and you have conversions by conversion time or conversion date. It's the same thing. You also have conversion value and you have conversion value by conversion time. You want to be measuring the by time, because that measures when the actual purchase event took place. So the normal conversions, or the normal conversion value, measures when the click event took place. But what we can see here is now we can start to see, you know, the ROAS by time, how many clicks to conversions, RPC, so revenue per click. This is all broken down, by the way, per campaign at the moment. We can see the ACoS, the average order values. We can see the gross profit, net profit. And then what you can start to see over here, so start from there over here, you can start to see the projected costs. And this is where what massively helped us, as well as all the other things I've just mentioned a moment ago. But this what massively helped us for our agency when we're scaling accounts. I'm sure people have come across here when you're doing your own ad accounts and you're like, oh, I don't know where to spend the money. I know we need to grow. I want to keep scaling and keep scaling and keep scaling, but I don't know where to put it. Do I put it in this campaign? Do I put it in that campaign? And then you might put it in one campaign and see results decline. You might put it in another one and see incline. But holistically, you kind of look at it and you're trying to work it all out. So we wanted to make that as simple as possible. So from the standard stuff that when you log into a Google Ads account, you see, you know, clicks, conversions, you know, conversion rate, whatever it may be, that's the standard stuff. And that's telling you what has happened. We want to try and go, well, what could happen? What is this campaign projected to do? And that's when we have labels such as projected monthly cost, which you can see, I think it's on this one over here, projected conversions, projected revenue, projected conversions by time, revenue by time, and then obviously you've got your net profit as well by time. Sorry, net profit, projected net profit. So when we was looking at this kind of data and we was deciding, hey, you know, Mr. or Mrs. Client, we think you should scale. Okay, then, you know, the client will come back and say, why do you think that, and where would you put the money? Well, we want to put it in this particular campaign. We want to put an extra £500, £5 or whatever it may be, because based on X, Y, Z. So we can see here that this particular campaign is projected net profit towards the end for the latter part of this month is at 20 grand, whereas the second campaign might be only 5 grand, and so on and so forth. But then you have to work out what the ROAS could be, etc. And that's very, very straightforward. But essentially, this gives you now a deeper dive in to go, where shall I put my money? And then you can look at this and go, that's where I'm putting my money, because it's projected to make more net profit. And currently, this campaign is making more net profit than this campaign, and so on and so forth. And any particular campaign that's not yielding as much net profit, or it's not projected as much, or whatever, so on and so forth, you could start to either scale them back if you want to, not add additional budget into it, and so on and so forth. But it gives you that more granular detail. So now you can confidently go, I'm putting £500 extra into this campaign because of this, and this. I'm sure that a lot of people may have come across agencies, or when you look doing it yourself, you're kind of thinking, I'm not sure where to put my money, and you're kind of hitting and hoping a little bit. And don't get me wrong, we've all been there as agencies as well. So, you know, any agency person or specialist will be a liar to say that they've never tried that before, because ultimately, you know, that's all we had to go off, if I'm honest with you. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that this is the elixir of life, but this just gives you that little bit of an edge to go, okay, I'm putting it here because this. It gives you that better answer, that's all. And then, of course, we've then got feed rules. So this is very important. So I think I was mentioning it again earlier. It's all within Data Leader at the moment. So you can add feed rules. So you can say, right, if a particular product has a POAS greater than 3 and has more than 10 conversions, for example, add this label to it. But you can also say on the flip side, you can see this bottom on the stragglers, if the POAS is less than 1 and it has more than 50 clicks, for example, I want you to add a different label to it, and I want that label to say stragglers. So when you're then segmenting into Google Ads, you know which ones are the high profit ones and the ones that are actually driving conversions and driving profit. And then you can also segment out by the ones that are just hemorrhaging money, ultimately. You can have almost an endless possibility in feed rules. Like the list kind of goes on. If I was to put them on here, we'll still be here next week, if I'm honest with you. So I kind of shortened it down to do. But again, you can say POAS greater than 3, conversions more than 50, and the brand has to be Adidas, for argument's sake, or the true cost is less than 10. The list kind of goes on. But what this allows you to do, you can then feed this back into your feed, and then that will naturally feed back into Google Ads. It's as simple as that. Then you can start segmenting out your campaigns significantly better, and you can start allocating budgets significantly more clearly, because you know in this campaign A, for argument's sake, all the products in here are the high POAS products, all the ones in here are the low the low POAS products, or the ones that are just hemorrhaging money. And then that brings me on to the product feed optimization. It is very, very, very important. I cannot stress this enough. This is hands down one of the most important things that you can do for your feed. Product feed optimization. So a lot of companies out there, I won't name them, but there are some really, really great agencies out there. Great companies out there that do product feed optimization, but they talk about titles, descriptions, obviously image links, obviously make sure your images are clear, GTINs, etc. Now they are very, very important. 100% they are. But Google Merchant Center is actually the one that learns your products. It ain't Google Ads. It's Google Merchant Center. And Google Merchant Center looks to all those different attributes I just mentioned, accounts to about 70% of its learnings. The other 30% comes from other stuff. Product highlights, product details, highlighted features 1, 2, 3, and 4, feature descriptions, themes, headlines. Headlines is different to titles, by the way, just as an FYI. The list honestly goes on and on and on. Now, I'm not saying if you add these other features in, all of a sudden you're going to get 1,000 conversions tomorrow or anything like that. But what it does is, if you have a better quality feed, you're more likely to show up for better quality searches, which are more likely to lead to better clicks, better conversion, and so on and so on and so on. The kind of list kind of goes on. So one of the things that, again, that were challenge that we faced at Jude Lux is optimizing that feed efficiently as possible, because it does take a lot of time. Generally speaking, if a product has approximately if a catalog has approximately about 500 products, it can take, if you really sat down, I mean, really optimized it, just with all the attributes I just mentioned, left undisturbed, it will approximately take about a day to do. About a day. Data Leader will do it in about 2.5 minutes. Just that quick, like that. Obviously utilizing AI, right? We haven't got someone really fast to optimize it all, right? So by doing that as an agency, naturally that freed us up to focus on more better things, such as strategy, where to implement this, how are we going to scale this, pushing this campaign, segmentation, etc. But it is very important to optimize your feed. I think there was a gentleman a moment ago that was talking about that they sell handbags, etc. So again, having in there like brand name, the color of the handbag, the style of it, or the material of it, if it's made from, good God, all the materials out of my mind has just gone. Like it's made from leather or something. Yeah, it's made from leather, whatever it may be. It's all important to have those attributes in your feed, because ultimately, one, that's what the consumer sees as well. You know, is it a leather, is it whatever it may be, or crocodile skin or whatnot. As you can tell, I'm very fashion conscious, so I know a lot about fashion. But it's all very important, again, because you want to make sure that Google Merchant Center understands what your product is to show it at the right time and to the right people. So if you're showing a red handbag, but your title has black in it, obviously you want to change that straight away. Or if it has no color in it, then you kind of want to add it in, because then you don't want to show someone searching a red handbag. Yes, the image, they can see it, but that's fine for the consumer who's searching for that red handbag and they see it. But if Google Merchant Center doesn't understand it, and someone searches for generically handbag or black or whatever it may be, and Google's going, well, Merchant Center will say, well, I don't know what this is, so I'm just gonna chance my chance and just show this red one. And yes, you might get a click, but if someone's searching for a black or blue, or they definitely just don't want red, you just paid for that click, and that only might be 20p. Of course it might be, but then pennies soon start to add up, as my mum used to tell me back in the day. So you obviously want to make sure that it's fully optimized as best as possible. And this brings me on to profit bidding. Profit beats ROAS. End of story. That's just the way it is. I'm yet to meet someone, and thankfully the industry is obviously going in this way as well. ROAS, like I mentioned, is a yardstick that fits everyone. That's why Amazon bang on about it. That's why Meta bang on about it. Why Google harp on about it, and the list kind of goes on. Now, what you should be doing is sending back gross profit data back into your ads platform. So again, I'm just going to speak from a Google Ads point of view. By sending back your gross profit that you've generated back into Google Ads, you can do POAS-based bidding. So let's just say you have campaigns at the moment, and your target ROAS is 500% for whatever reason, right? It's 500%. What you're telling Google is go get me revenue, and I want 5 times the money back. Just if that's what it's essentially doing, is it's not taking into consideration going, well, you've gone out and got me 500% of my money back. That's fantastic. That's great. I want to keep scaling. But ultimately, on that sale, you've got to pay obviously VAT if applicable. Obviously, you still got to pay shipping to you before you get that product, before the customer buys it and sends it to them. Obviously, you've got labor, energy, and so on and so on and so forth. The list kind of goes on. So by sending back in the gross profit data back into Google Ads, that gross profit, all that is already taken all of that into consideration. Your labor costs, your shipping costs, your COGS, your payment fees, VAT, and so on and so forth. The list goes on. So now your ROAS is now become your POAS, and your conversion value by conversion time is now your gross profit. So to work out your net profit, all you've got to do is conversion value minus spend. That's that. So as a channel, this channel has made me X amount of net profit. And then you can break it down per campaign if you wish to do so. And essentially, you obviously tie that up with the server-side tracking. You get better data coming through, and ultimately much more accurate decision making happening in the account. But going back to that 500%, now Google's thinking. Now Google, by the way, and all these other channels, all they think is, well, it's still revenue. That's why I mentioned your columns in Google Ads or Meta, none of them was changed. It's just that it's just showing a different value. That's all it is, right? But he thinks, well, I'm still going to chase 500%. Now, on the other hand, you don't have to put a target ROAS of 500%. You can actually have it at 150%. Because what you're then doing is saying, hey, Google or Meta, whatever, instead of 500%, go and get me 150%. Then it opens the floodgates. It's going, yes, that's exactly what I want. And it will go out, as long as obviously there's a deeper conversation. Make sure you're targeting in your audience signals, make sure they're all there in your customer match list as well. So I'm assuming all of that's in there. But essentially, it will then start opening up and start doing broader targeting. So instead of it restricting it because it thinks, hold on, I've got to get a minimum of 500%, it will try to get a minimum of 500%. It's going, hold on, I can now get 150%, but it's getting 150% in gross profit.
So can you actually target directly emails to look at ROAS rather than ROAS? I thought you couldn't.
So it's a good, yeah, I understand what
you have
so
to products into different profitability margin groups and then do it. So you're still bidding with ROAS, but knowing what that's doing on the ROAS.
Yeah, so in Google Ads, so when I say target ROAS, obviously that's type of bid strategy. Your target ROAS, that won't change in terms of the literal name of it, but because Google still thinks whether you show gross profit into Google Ads, it still thinks it's revenue. It's just that you're sending back the gross profit, that's all. So by switching to gross profit into the Google Ads account, you are doing profit, but you are actually chasing POAS. That's what you're actually doing. It's just that in Google Ads and all these other channels, they still call it target ROAS or conversion value. That's all it is. So in theory, yes, you can. You can target profit in Google Ads by using that.
So you say that rather than saying you've got a product that sells for £100 with a margin of 45, do you tell Google, rather than telling Google that it's got value of £100, do you tell it it's got value of £45?
No, so what you're doing is, so in the server side, so when you're setting it all up, essentially you have a purchase event. So regardless if you do client side or server side, in that purchase event, instead of sending back that £100 value, you actually just sending back that £45. So yeah, 100%. You can do that because that's what I mean by the gross. But the profit bidded by sending back in that £45 instead of that £100.
Yes,
that's essentially what Google now thinks that £45 is your revenue, and then you can lower your. So,
CROAS, but actually the
but yeah.
What happened to the Google beta version of offering that?
I actually don't, if I'm honest with you. Google release a lot of betas. One of the best betas that I have at the moment, if anyone does creatives or does demand gen or YouTube, one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best things that they've ever released is comparables. So you can actually go onto your columns into Google Ads account and just start typing in, I think it's called platform comparables or called comparable platforms. It's one or the other. And then you can start adding them in and you can actually start to see what that particular campaign is doing. But with regards to that beta, no, I don't. But funnily enough, I'm going to Google Dublin on 12th of September.
The introducers then suddenly withdrew it after a few weeks or a couple of months, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, yeah. So I don't know if it's coming back, if I'm honest with you, but we do have a couple of clients where they're on the joint business plan with Google, and that's why we're going on the 12th. So that's something that I could ask them. So if I find out any more information, of course I know that you're related to Paul.
It wasn't like we've done it.
Yeah. Yeah, but with that as well, going back onto that, like I mentioned, just because a product is gross profitable doesn't mean it's net profitable. And ultimately, there's a lot of, I would choose my words carefully here, there's a lot of companies out there or providers out there that ultimately will say profit, but they're talking about gross profit. At the end of the day, what matters is when you're sitting down having your cup of coffee at the end of the month, how much money's in the bank. End of story. It's just that simple. And you know what I mean? You can't build a business on gross profit. Please, you guys are business. Unless I've got that wrong, please tell me now. Yeah, thank you. No one actually, because I would have really stuck then. Stop loss. Again, this was a really big challenge for us. So as you saw before, just shy of £1,800 to £311. I'm quite proud of this because I don't know how to say this without trying to sound big-headed. That was my idea. All right, no one else is here. It's all me. No one else. No. So stop loss. It was a big problem that we had, and ultimately, I was like, we had clients that had God knows how many like products we had. You know, it's okay if you've got like 5 products, you can kind of figure it out very quickly. But if you start going over like 10, 15, and then you got to appreciate being an agency, we've got several other clients as well. You know, what you think is maybe 10 products or 50 products, whatever it may be, it's now thousands when you look at it from an agency point of view. So I was like, well, surely there's got to be a way, right? How can we kind of stop this from happening, or at least warn us that something's going on here? And how, you know, so ultimately, like I mentioned, stop loss, if a product is no longer net profitable or about to be not net profitable, will automatically pause that product. Now, we do have some clients that have loss leaders. You know, notoriously speaking, I'm not sure if anyone has kids here, but nappies that are sold at Tesco's and Sainsbury's alike are generally sold at a loss, because they know you might need to buy formula, you probably buy some bread, and so on and so on and so forth. And we do have clients that also sell products at a loss intentionally, because you might want to buy such and such and such as well. So stop loss allows you to override that if you want to, but the default setting is pause, as an FYI. By doing that, we have seen your budget be reallocated to products that actually drive money and profit. So let's just say your ad spend is £1,000 a month and you have 1,000 products, and let's just assume that 50% of those products are hemorrhaging money. Excuse me, they're not net profitable in any way. So stop loss will pause those products, 500 of them, straight away. That means your total ad spend, the £1,000 that you had, is now being spent on the 500 products that are actually generating money and profits.
So if you work to target ROAS, or now in your case target ROAS,
yeah,
then isn't it just going to halve the spend from £1,000 to £500?
No,
I mean, only an idiot would limit their budget by the budget limit on if it's achieving ROAS.
Yeah, so what I'm referring to, so it won't like split your budget. So your budget will still be £1,000. It's just that,
but you shouldn't be restricting your campaign by a fixed amount, should you? If it's achieving the ROAS you're looking for.
Yeah. So that's 100% true. So in the campaigns, now we're talking about like segmentation. So you might have 10 products in a particular campaign. Eventually, over time, Google will start favoring some of those products because it knows it can get money for them or whatever. What I'm referring to is going, that's okay, but what if it's chasing products or favoring products that are not net profitable? So you're hemorrhaging money. So we want to pause those products, or at least do something with them, and we want to allocate budget to products that are that can still yield net profit or are yielding net profits, basically. So the default setting is to pause them, but you don't have to. Like I said, you can override them if you want to. You may have loss leaders, or you may be seasonality, or whatever it may be. You can do that, but the default setting is to pause. One of the other features that stop loss does is that it will automatically pause that particular product for X amount of days, and then after let's just assume 14 days, then what it'll do on the 14th, or sorry, on the 15th day, it will start that product again and go, do you know what? I'll give you a second chance. Go out and try and find me money for that product. And sometimes that can happen. And if you start making net profit, then fantastic. Off you go. You don't need to be paused again. But if it does start to then lose money again, back into pause. And that's that. This refreshes every first of the month as an FYI. So it takes into consideration, obviously, your seasonality. You know, if you're selling ski shoes in the middle of August, chances are you're probably not going to make that much money from compared to when you start selling them in Q4. And then A/B testing. So again, I was like, this is not enough for me, because we started seeing a pattern. Usually, generally speaking, if you take seasonality out of it, the same products would just keep on getting paused eventually for certain clients. So I was like, well, why is this? Now, the possibilities could be absolutely endless here. Why is it being paused? Could be down to price, could be down to landing page, could be down to this, it could be down to that. But ultimately, as an agency, a Google Ads agency, getting paid from a client, I need to eliminate or try and figure out, is this a feed problem? First, we have to knock on loads of doors. Mine will knock on this one first. So what Data Leader does is, it will look at the last 90 days, and if a particular product is no longer generating net profit in the last 90 days, it will automatically duplicate that product, re-optimize it, plug it back into Google Merchant Center as a primary feed, because you'll have to. And then what you can then do in your Google Ads account is segment out that campaign. So segment out those products into a separate campaign, and you can actually start to see if those new optimized versions of those original products are actually yielding money for you now. And what we find in some cases is that it is because of the feed. Actually, it wasn't as good. You know, so we then take those learnings from that particular, the new product, and then put it back into the controlled to see how we get on. And this is just an example of what it will do. So this is the label that it will add, DL_AB test. And then what you can do is obviously click on the results to view the kind of differences. If it's still not yielding profit for whatever reason, and we can still see, again, you know, you'll have to view the results, but you can have a look at how many clicks it's had, how many impressions it's had. There's a bit of a bigger conversation for that, but you can then start to go, okay, well, we're still getting the same amount of traffic, if not in some cases more, but we're still not profitable on it, or we're still not getting enough conversions, or it might not be enough conversion value, whatever it may be. So that opens up, obviously, could it be to do with the price? Could it be to do with the CRO and so on and so forth? But the point of it is going, okay, well, we've knocked on the feed door, so to say, and we know that's not the issue, or that is the issue, whatever. So you can kind of work it out from there. And then you can look at other avenues such as your A/B test and your CRO, which I know that Adam will speak about just after this as well. So again, some of the case studies that we have. So it was one of the challenges that we wanted to eliminate was essentially wastage in the account. So when we typically take over a Google Ads account, one of the first things that we want to do is go, this is great. You're probably making money, or you're not making as much money, whatever it may be. We need to stamp out the wastage in the account as fast as possible. And that's typically from products that are not yielding, like I mentioned, any net profit. So what we did was just purely from a bit of feed optimization and the stop loss technology, the net profit increased by just shy of £10,000 and improved the ROAS from 112 to 156. And the non-profitable spend out went down by 53%, and the SKUs reviewed were about 17. So this is a high value items. So obviously, and the margins were relatively tighter compared to other kind of competitors. So every penny mattered for this client. And just by doing adding some simple kind of techniques in, we was able to achieve positive results for the client. And this is one of the main reasons. I know that people talk about, you know, I know that Alison was talking earlier about, obviously, you know, super payments, and Paul was talking about SEO and stuff like that. Little incremental changes like that can make a world of a difference just here. Because that extra, I'm going to round it up to 10,000 because it's just easier. That extra 10 grand there, if you spread it over 12, if you assume that's going to be the same every month, that's 100 grand a year. I don't know about you, but if you're willing to waste that, please donate it to me, because I'm buying a house and my wife wants a new kitchen. So I'm more than happy to take it. But by little incremental changes like that can make a world of a difference. And that's the difference between buying more stock, expanding out to XYZ, hiring someone, whatever it is, just by some little simple changes. And thank you. Thank you very much. I know I rambled on quite a lot. Is there any questions or queries or anything like that? Brilliant. Thank you very much. But if you do come up with any, feel free to reach out anytime. And yeah, thank you very much, guys. Cheers.